All right, we are live.
Oh.
All right, everybody, I'll kick it off today. So we're going to jump right in as it is 12 o'clock. And for those of you that are coming to watch this later, welcome to Blunt and Biased. I'm Theresa Paganini. I never know what to call myself. I am a certified health coach, behavioral change specialist, weight management specialist, emotional eating specialist. What do I call myself? I think that should be our next poll or vote. What's
Yeah.
a good name for me? Like what? All these things. Anyway, my focus is on helping people reach their ideal weight while finding joy in eating, joy in themselves, joy in life. Losing weight shouldn't be horrible. It should be a very healthy, uplifting, positive experience. And so I help people really create positive relationships with themselves and with food so they can do that.
And I'm Dr. Katie Schneller. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Tempe, Arizona, and I specialize in a lot of gut health related issues as well as autoimmune. Basically, who comes to me are the people that have seen a bunch of other docs or other healthcare providers that haven't figured out what's wrong. And it's my job to figure out what's wrong and treat the cause and get you healed so that you don't need me anymore. I just had a patient graduate care yesterday. It was the best.
Woohoo! Yeah, right. Yeah. If we do our jobs well, it should be a great graduation experience and then future referrals of friends and family, but you should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So today we are talking about stress and the effect stress has on health. And it's very well timed because I recently started working with Theresa and she started coming to see me too sometimes. And we're kind of, just doing some tradesies. And I'm super stressed. Just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean I'm perfect at everything that I do in my life. And so Teresa's been helping me kind of identify how stress might be impacting me and my health. And then through prepping for this talk, I found a number of things to help educate all of you today too. And Theresa, hopefully I teach you something. So excited to talk about today.
Yeah, I think what's really great about today is like there's some chats that we do are relevant to some, but I feel like stress is relevant to everyone. And chronic stress has become such a norm, unfortunately. And since COVID, even more so. And so it's affecting people in so many ways. I don't know that they're aware or they're subconsciously aware and just don't want to deal with it. So they just keep pushing it away and ignoring it. But then they feel like shit. And
Yeah.
so, right. And they're just willing to live with it as their new normal. And it's just unnecessary. And it's really hard considering like joy is my main thing. It's hard to live with joy if you're in pain, if you can't sleep, if you have chronic headaches, if you can't lose weight, if you are not able to enjoy your spouse, your children, your job, your friends. Like if you can't find joy in things because you're too stressed to do that, like what the hell's the point?
Right.
Right. So I think today is a great topic just because I think it really does impact everyone.
Yeah, it does. And, the more that I was just brushing up on some things about stress, some facts about it, really it does. It's just as pervasive as you said, and especially worse during COVID. I use a stress quiz on my intake questionnaire. It's from Holmes and Rye. And basically it goes through some of the major stressors. And through that questionnaire, it was made because certain stress carries certain significance. And so, for everybody, no matter their score on that stress quiz, I always say, okay, well, this is either, not too bad, or this looks pretty intense. Like, how do you feel? Because how you cope with your stress is just as significant as what stressors you're facing. They could be mild, but when we're talking about what happens physiologically with the body, no matter what stressor it is or who you are, you could have the same exact cortisol response, the same adrenaline response. Let's say I have a busy day of patients tomorrow. I could have the same amount of stress levels as someone who's homeless and they don't know where their next meal is coming from. So it really is, it's completely relative. And while stress does boil down to certain points about perspective and how you feel about what's going on in your life, it also just affects you kind of whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the mind definitely helps with the stress levels for sure. And it does help. Mind over matter is a saying for a reason. Like your mind absolutely can help inhibit as the amount of physical reactions you have to stress. So I think that's kind of, I would say probably my first point in talking about stress is understanding where your mind is at, and how you are approaching life mentally, right? So like if a lot of us, and this is a word people are like, oh, I don't do this, but yeah, you probably do, but almost everybody does. Are you coming at life from a place of a victim, right? Like, woe is me.
Mhm.
I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. And if you find you're trying to explain to other people why you're so stressed out or why you can't do this or why you can't do that, that's victim. And
Mhm.
that's a mindset, right? Where if you're looking at like, I'm so excited and grateful for these opportunities and truly meaning that, or, oh my God, everything in my life is just draining me and sucking me dry,
Yeah.
right? How we see it really dictates our body's response to
Yeah.
it. And so I do think that's a great starting point is understanding how are you approaching your life? How are you approaching the things that stress you out? And if there is no gratitude or joy in it, what of it can you remove?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's not just about managing, it's removing.
Yeah, and I think, in order to determine that, you need some sort of self-awareness or like a certain level of self-awareness. And so you can do things like journal or meditate and try to identify what your major stressors are. You can make a list. But the American Institute of Stress also has two different quizzes that basically help you identify what your major stressors are, and tell you how well you're dealing with it. So anyone who's listening, it's again the American Institute of Stress. They have two different like items that they're $20 each, so you have to pay to identify how stressed you are. But one's called the Ross, it's ROSCH Stress Profiler. Takes about 15 minutes and identifies how well you're coping in 10 key areas of your life, including anger, worry, fear, financial stress, and time pressure. It shows you how well you're doing with stress symptoms, stress outlets, social support, and overall resilience. And then the other one that American Institute of Stress has is called the Stress Mastery Questionnaire, also $20. Basically,
Like financials aren't your stress.
yeah, right? It's a quick online self-assessment and helps basically give you personalized feedback on your stress risk, identified in a detailed 9-page stress report. So if you're somebody that doesn't know how to identify how stressed you are, these are two different tools that can help you, because sometimes it's really hard to kind of identify what's wrong. Some people, when they genuinely ask you how you are, do you actually check in and go, how am I? And if I'm not okay, like, what is going on? So anyway, hopefully financial, yeah, just like you said, it's not
But you know what, honestly, I mean,
worth the $20.
well, and that's it. $40. Come on. For you to be able to understand, I mean, this could be extremely life changing. What the hell is $40? Let's keep perspective, right? I think so. Do you have links to those
I can put them in there. Yep.
in the chat? I think that'd be great for people to be able to easily find them.
Cool.
And I think to Dr. Katie's point a little bit earlier is right, like you've got a homeless person who doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, and so then you've got. I'll take me as an example. I always say use myself. I live in a big, gorgeous home in one of the nicest areas of Phoenix. I have my own career. I have this amazing man who loves me to death. I've got the cutest little puppy ever. I've got a great, I got a great network of friends. Like I've got a great life.
Yeah.
So it's very easy then for me to go, oh my God, I don't deserve to feel stress. I have no reason to feel stress. And so if my hair starts falling out, which it will occasionally do, if I stop sleeping, if I start having panic attacks or breaking out into hives, these are all things that are real for me, by the way. If those things start happening, and then I'm like, what the hell, Theresa? You have no reason to be stressed out. It's not like you're homeless and don't know where your next meal is coming from, or it's not like you're that woman who just lost her husband or this or that. You add to your stress. Like you are telling yourself you don't have the right, and then you beat yourself up. That's not helping.
Right.
Not helping. The body, everybody's got different levels of stress resilience, and that's partially learned. That's part nature, part nurture. Like beating yourself up doesn't serve anybody. So stop it.
Certainly not. Yeah, and it worsens your stress response, right? Which I think was part of what we wanted to hit on today. We're already these 30-minute sessions go so fast. But just in case for people that don't know, what physiologically occurs when you're stressed is a hormone gets released called cortisol. That's basically our cope with stress hormone. Adrenaline gets released, and that causes elevation in your heart rate. Your muscles get tense. So if you feel like you're someone who's constantly tense, that can be a sign that you're overworked or overstressed.
I'm going to jump in real quick.
Please go ahead.
With that. So if you don't, I'm not very body aware. I'm just
Mhm.
not. So like the tension in the muscles, you may not realize your muscles are tense, but if you realize you constantly have a low grade headache, that's a sign your muscles are stressed,
Yep.
right? If you find that you fatigue very quickly physically and there's really no good reason for it, you're probably in a state of tension and don't know it. So I wanted to jump in there because some people don't realize their muscles are all tensed out, but there are other signs that you can look for that you're like, oh yeah, I almost always have a headache. Okay, well, there's your sign.
Yeah. I'm about to go through those. That's a really good juncture. Yeah, I was going to have everybody like grab a pen or open up a phone app or something, because the situation is your nervous system does not delineate very well between emotional stress and physical stress. So, let's say you're somebody who never has any kind of emotional concerns going on or any like thing environmentally going on. If you're working out super, super hard every single day, that's a stressor. That counts. Chronic stress disrupts literally every system. It suppresses your immune system. You get upset digestion, irregular reproductive stuff. So I'm talking about periods there. Increased risk for heart attack and stroke. It speeds up aging and it can rewire your brain, right? And of course, exacerbate pre-existing conditions that you have. So if you have a pen or something to mark little tallies off with, these are common symptoms of stress overload. If you have this, make a tally. Memory problems, inability to concentrate, poor judgment, seeing only the negative, anxious or racing thoughts, constant worrying, depression or general unhappiness, anxiety and agitation, moodiness, irritability, or anger. For those new viewers, we're going through and making tallies for the symptoms of stress overload to identify whether all of us are stressed or not. Feeling overwhelmed, loneliness and isolation, other mental or emotional health problems, aches and pains, diarrhea or constipation, nausea, dizziness, chest pain or rapid heart rate, loss of sex drive, frequent colds or flu, and just a few more, eating more or less than usual, sleeping too much or too little, withdrawing from others, procrastinating or neglecting responsibilities, using alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs to relax, and nervous habits like nail biting or pacing.
Quite a bit.
Well, I was reading, so I wasn't tallying, but I think that I would have quite a few of those.
Yeah, right. I did tally. I tallied a bit, and then I was kind of just looking around. Part of the racing thoughts problem, probably. But I've definitely had a lot of those in my most stressful moments, and I find, Michelle is saying she may need that list in the chat. That would be a good one too. Also, yeah. And I saw you just the shingles thing, Michelle. That sucks. The stress levels, right? And a lot of the autoimmune stuff is a result of stress.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had quite a few, and it's very interesting. I'm in this really great space right now where life is just good and things are good, but I am someone, and this is why I do what I do. I struggle to allow myself to feel joy. And so I am struggling with quite a few of these right now. And they're, in my mind, self-induced to keep me from feeling that joy I should be feeling because life is very good right now. But it's very interesting, right? Like, how much are we contributing to our stress? How much is life contributing to our stress? And then these just help you understand something. You may not know what, but something is contributing to stress. And it's time you sit down and journal and figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are some exercises, and I was going to bring this up at the end, but I think that's a good segue into it. There are some exercises in one of my favorite books that I've ever read. It's called Overcoming Overwhelm. I can find that on Amazon and include the link in there. But basically what it does is it has you at least one of the exercises that I like and I'll do with my patients sometimes is you list out literally every single thing that you have to do. That includes small, medium, large size things. You have to take care of a kid. You have to brush your own teeth. You have to come up with meal plans and, meal prep. Like, you have to work, and you can even go through all of the different things that you have to do at your particular job, but literally write a list out of everything that you have to do every day. And then you can either take a highlighter, or if you're doing this electronically, move them into separate columns, but you break that entire list into 3 columns. One is things that you can't do anything about. No matter what, I cannot change this. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. The second one is I can change this item, but I know that I'm choosing not to for a particular reason or a variety of reasons. And the third is things that I could change, and I think that I might be ready to, or at least I have the desire and the ability to change them. When you break it up like that, for that first column, things that you literally can't do anything about, this is when perspective comes in. You've got to change your mindset on that. If you can't do anything about it, stop letting it rule you and stop letting it stress you out and cause you physical ailments. You're giving your stressors too much power. And same thing with the middle column. If it's something you can change, but you don't want to right now, don't stress yourself out about it. Don't shame yourself about it. You're making that choice. You are making a choice every single day or every hour or whatever it is to not alter that, to not do anything about that. So that's might as well be in the first column. And then for the third column, start making moves. If you've got a lot going on and there's a number of things in that column of things you can change and you're ready to do it, now's the time. Last month's the time.
Yeah, I think that's awesome,
Yeah.
because that we do try to hyper focus on the things we can't control.
Yep.
And it's once again one of those things where I feel like we're trying to steal our own joy. Like,
Yep.
why? You can't control those. Let them go. And the biggest one, guys, is you can't control other people. You cannot control other people. You can simply control your reaction to other people. You can control how much you interact with other people, the amount of interaction, which I think I just said, a little redundant, but like the controlling of other people is kind of what's most frustrating. You have a boss that does this, that, or the other. Okay, well, you can't control that, but what can you control about your reaction to that? Your spouse does this, that, and the other. Okay, well, right. How do you either communicate and speak your truth, which gives you a feeling of empowerment, and 2, how do you come to a state of acceptance of, okay, they may always say and do this, but now what can I say and do to react better in a way that I can better handle?
I was just including the link for the
No, I think that's great.
Overwhelm book. Yeah.
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 I was going to jump in just a little bit. A technique that I love to use, especially when we talked about the muscle tension. And this is great for people who struggle to fall asleep. This is great when you struggle with like a sense of anxiety. And like there's times where I just feel as if I've got like this anxious energy running through me that needs an outlet, right? And I don't have time for a workout or whatever, but it's there. And I'm like, wow, I'm hyped up. Progressive relaxation techniques, I think, is a really phenomenal technique to help with the body, the physical side of it, which, of course, when the physical gets to calm down, sometimes it's the physical that needs to calm first before the mind can calm. And sometimes we need the mind to be calm in order to calm the physical. And so progressive relaxation is simply start at the very top of your head and slowly work your way down, but you're going to tighten every muscle that you possibly can in that one segment of your body and hold it for about 5 or 10 seconds. And then picture yourself just melting and let it go. And you feel a significant difference in that one state. So, and I'm going to just give everybody humor. So let's say the face, right? A lot of us hold a lot of tension in the jaw, the forehead. Do you see my wrinkles right there? Yeah. I hold tension in my forehead. So, right. So if I'm feeling super tense when I'm in bed before going to sleep, when I can't go to sleep, right? You're going to tense up as much as you can, right? Is that not the best face? We should take a picture. Tense up as much as you can. Don't worry about what other people think. Have a sense of humor, and hold that and just feel that tension right there, just right there. That's it. 5, 10 seconds, and then release. And all of a sudden, look, the lines disappear. And then how do you get the neck? Like, can you do the neck? I've got these great scalenes that you can see, right? Do the neck, tighten the neck, and do the right, and then release. And then the shoulders and release, and work your way down the body. And you'll probably fall asleep halfway through, to be honest. But it also helps just get rid of a lot of that stuff. So it's a great physical technique for something that needs something to do. You're like, I hate meditating. I'm not into that. We'll work you there. Until then, here's a do thing that I feel like everybody can get some benefit out of.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the one of the points, right? Is that, yeah, this is how stress affects you. Don't stress out that you're stressed out about stressing. Um, right? Identify what your coping mechanisms are. They are different for everybody. Meditation might not be your jam. It's fantastic for the nervous system, but if all you do is have anxious, racing, stressful thoughts, and you're more tense every time you leave your session, then maybe there's a different form of meditation for you. It might be walking. It might be mindful eating. Yeah, I went to a meditation retreat. We did mindful eating with a raisin, and it was like painful, but it was also really cool. Paying attention to your senses, because when you're stressed out, your senses are really heightened too. That's part of our stress response. So if you find that you're somebody that's easily overwhelmed by extra light and extra sound and lots of people and just tons of stimulation, then that's another sign that you're stressed. And so find the opposite of that, right? If that tends to be the way that you're stressed out, go lock yourself in your closet, turn the lights off, put earplugs in, headphones over that, right? And just sit with yourself and let your body relax. You have to have moments of restoration where you're switching from fight or flight, which is your sympathetic response, into rest and digest, which is your parasympathetic response. You've got to have both. Both are important.
Yeah. So, Dr. Katie, right? So we've talked about like removing stress where it's possible. So that's your category 3, right? The things you're willing to change. What can you delegate? So I'm going to tell a quick story. I think stories are always fun. So I have a brand new client and male client. And I do love the male clients because they're just so much better at some things than us ladies are. And one of them is not feeling any guilt about or restrictions about delegating. Women struggle to ask for help or receive help. Men are really good at it, which tends to be why we're stressed out, because we're taking on stuff versus taking a leaf from their book and being like a page from their book and being like, no. But anyway, he has a very full life, lots of stuff on his plate, lots of it. And I said to him, does this bring you joy and fulfillment, or does it make you feel overwhelmed? He's like, oh, joy and fulfillment all the way. He goes, honestly, I kind of consider myself the project manager. These are the things that need to get done. And then I go find other people who are going to get it done. I just make it happen, but they do the work. And I was like, oh my God, I wish all of my clients felt that way, because he should be a stressed out mess. But he's like, no, I'm not a stressed out mess, because I actually find the perfect person who can and is willing to do it. And I just get to feel good about the fact that I hook them together. I'm like the match.com. What do you need? I got you. What do you need? I got you. I mean, not me, but me. Right. And so his stress levels, despite having a huge role in his church, he's got 4 children. He owns his own business. Like, this is a guy that should, if he were female, would probably be stressed out of his mind. But he takes these things and he has no problems delegating it up.
Yeah.
Right? I have an assistant. She handles my food. She handles my email. She handles this. She handles that. Right? So he has this ability to find joy in all these things that many would find stressful, because he's okay handing stuff off. And I think that is a huge lesson for those that struggle with stress.
Yeah. Yeah. For
life
sure.
stress, right? Like life stress. I mean, if you've just went through divorce, or if you just had a death, that's different stress. But life stress, what can you push off to something or someone else?
Yeah. And like I said, it is relative, but to a certain degree, we have been able to measure certain responses that the body has to particular events. And there are kind of like a top 10 most stressful events list that you can compare to. And that's what's on the Holmes and Rahi stress scale that I have in my intake form. But the top 10 stressful life events are death of a spouse, divorce, marriage separation, imprisonment, death of a close family member is number 5, injury or illness, probably like a personal injury or illness. Marriage is also a stressful, right? Hopefully a happy stress, but still stress. Job loss, marriage reconciliation, and retirement. Again, right? Everyone like looks forward to retirement, but it's still in the top 10 most stressful things in your life. So good stress, bad stress, still stress.
Yep.
So even with that guy not feeling stressed, not feeling overwhelmed and being happy, that doesn't necessarily mean his cortisol levels aren't elevated, you know?
Mhm.
Yep, yep. But you know, kind of to bring it back around, like what is on your plate? If any of it is things that you have personally added and you have control over, maybe consider identifying why you put those on your plate in the first place. And if it's something that you want to get rid of so that you're in a better state of health to be able to do the remaining items on your list.
And then to your point on that top 10, like some of that you can't control, which is the death of a loved one, potentially even like the divorce or what's going on with the marriage. But what you can control then is the grief process. And so figuring out what it is that you need. Do you need someone to talk to? I believe every person on earth should have a therapist because you have that objective third party that's just there to listen and direct in a way that is for your own good. There's no side objective that they have because they don't particularly have an invested interest in your life, right? Is You've mentioned journaling, you've mentioned meditation, crying. Some people, I'll tell them, there's a lot in there. It's okay to scream. It's okay to go punch something. Try, preferably not a human. But you've got pillows, you've got a bed. I've got a kickboxing bag. Anybody wants to come over and borrow that, you can. But like, what do you need? And don't judge yourself for it, right? There's a lot of societal and religious obligation to feel or act a certain way, and that, to be blunt and biased, is fucking us up mentally. Like it doesn't allow us to be who we are and do what we need. If you need to scream profanity out into the universe, but you're a dead set believer against that, but that's what you need, do it. Like get it out there. Like give yourself what you need. Be authentic to you. Your job is to take care of you first. Before you take care of everybody else, you have to take care of you first. And what do you need? And get really clear on that need and then chase it. Give it to yourself because you're worthy. You deserve it.
There's no judgment with like what you are supposed to have, and we don't teach men often how to handle their stress or how to process emotions in a healthy way. And so of course that bleeds over, and it's not just men, obviously everybody experiences that. But if you're sitting here listening and you're like, I don't know, you two, because I don't know what's going to make me feel better, I feel like nothing makes me feel better, then keep searching and don't give up and ask for help. I'm here. I sometimes have patient appointments where we don't talk about medicine. We just talk about what's going on in their life. And then, I help with the stress response or help with anxiety or, do acupuncture or, otherwise we sometimes can just talk. That's what Teresa's here for too. I vented to her yesterday about all of my professional woes. So everybody needs help. Everybody needs support. And if you don't know what helps you feel better, figure it out, because life, as we all know, is stressful inherently. It is why we're here, is to experience the bad too, so that we can feel grateful and really appreciate the good. If things were friggin' perfect all the time, we'd be so used to that, and so bored and just be like, well, yep, that was perfect timing there.
Mm-hmm. Whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Whatever.
So the last 2 minutes, Dr. Katie, I'm curious, because being the naturopath, let's talk a little bit about supplementation that can help with the stress response in the body.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very familiar with ashwagandha. I'm very familiar with adrenal support. I'm familiar with as Gaia being a really good, strong brand for something like that. But and I recommend that often to clients that are in the process of trying to figure out how to handle their stress. Well, let's start helping the body as you work through that, so there's no delay in an immediate response. So what do you recommend from a supplement standpoint typically to help people deal with stress?
It really does depend. I mean, I can list out a few things and I will, but as always, this isn't specific medical advice for you. If you're on certain medications, you can't necessarily take these things. So whatever I say, please don't just go buy them off Amazon. Schedule an appointment. But L-theanine is really helpful. GABA and glycine are really helpful. There are a lot of herbs that are helpful, just like you said, ashwagandha or Withania somnifera. That's its scientific name. That can be really helpful. Holy basil is in general a very helpful herb and usually really pretty safe for most conditions. But again, just make sure. And you've got to think about too, not just herbs and amino acids, but also the vitamins and minerals that are depleted from the stress response. So sometimes what you need might be a B complex, but that's why things like IV therapy and vitamin injections can be really helpful because it gives you what you need right away instead of relying on supplements, especially the herbs, to build up in your system over time because natural medicine is fantastic. And there are not that many remedies that work right away for anxiety. It's just because the things that can really help with the anxiety response or the stress response are things that have to build up in your system over time. So that's something that makes it tough. But there are some things that work really well for people. Homeopathy, if found the right remedy, can be super helpful. Identifying your source of why you're experiencing panic attacks, if it seems completely out of left field, you don't even know why it's happening, then there's something going on potentially that you're eating. I knew someone who had recurrent panic attacks from a dairy allergy. Once they discontinued dairy, they were literally perfectly fine and they suffered for years. So, there are some things, like I mentioned, that can be helpful, but ultimately, right, I'm a naturopathic doctor, so I'm going to say it's individualized to you and find the cause.
Yep, 100%. And if you didn't pull from what she was saying, like part of what Dr. Katie does is those vitamin IVs and the quick, hey, let's get the body into a better state, healthier state pretty quickly through that IV. She does those quite frequently and also, I believe, on demand, not just in your IV
Yes.
hours. So I would definitely, to her point, if you know you're struggling with stress and you've struggled to change your stress levels on your own, see her, find out if there's something you can be doing medically, homeopathy, anything of that nature, herbal wise, and then also start working with her and or me and or a therapist to start identifying what is fixable, what is not fixable, what can move, what cannot move. And if you are someone who's been dealing with stress quite a bit and you've been to Dr. Katie and or someone like her and have realized, hey, technically you're healthy and fine, but you're still not losing weight, that is most likely a stress response. And so that's the next area to focus on. And that's kind of where we specialize. So big point is stress is curable in a variety of modalities. So don't just live with it, throw your hands up in the air and come to a place of acceptance of, I'm just going to be stressed. Work yourself to a point where you're willing to take some changes, self-reflect, figure out what's going on, and then get the help that you need.
Yeah, it might not be adding more onto your plate. It could be removing things and finding more ease than effort. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed. We're a few minutes over now. Hopefully you learned something new. As always, if you have questions or concerns or comments, please contact Theresa or I. I think that's all.
Awesome, guys. Have a great rest of your day and make it less stressful. Bye.